what you're essentially saying is, there are so many people that are locked into a belief system, like in the churches, where they believe in a Savior God, that they're being told that they just believe it, that they're going to be taken care of and taken to the highest heavens after they pass on. And we have people in the corporation that believe that they've had experiences with a Mahanta or some other spiritual person. Just they think having those experiences or these beliefs is all that they need to move on. But in reality, all it does is lock them into more and more cycles of reincarnation. And the problem with being locked into cycles of reincarnation is every time you're reincarnated, your memory is erased, so you can't plan ahead and, well, the next lifetime I'll figure it out. Well, it doesn't work that way because your memory is erased and you're taken back to square one. And so you're saying to everybody, the name of the game is to develop an awareness. It's all about awareness. It's becoming aware of the real side rather than believing in something.
Yeah, belief is an idea. It's a comfortable idea that has been marketed and sold to people, and it's easy. Again, it's very comfortable, like the couch in your living room. It's very comfortable to sit on that. And so this is what people, again, it's hope, belief, and faith. Those are the three biggies, and they're all maybes. That's all. It's like, maybe it is so. But again, people, they want it to be so they decide that it is. They establish, the businesses of religion and all these things, etc. That's just a business on the earth. This is a business world. Again, what was there before this? And look at the birds and look at the animals. And on the natural environment, they don't do any of this stuff that the people do. And they don't destroy their environment either, like people do. So these are the know-it-alls that think they know something about life. They've decided what life is, but at the same time, the whole place, their environment, they're destroying it, and it gets worse. So what is it that makes sense here? What is not seen? So again, it's choices. And so those people that keep choosing to incorporate these ideas with them, etc., and hang on to them, yes, they become anchors, is what they do. And yeah, they'll maybe make it to some nice little place in the astral worlds, or maybe even the mental worlds. It doesn't matter. It's somewhere in creation. And eventually they'll recycle because they'll get bored there. This is how the personal self is. It goes back and forth. It's just like anything, too much time or whatever, and not focused on a real purpose, that becomes the difference. They will just come back because of all the relationships they've developed through the lifetimes also. So, yes, each lifetime, it's not necessarily that the memories erased, it's just that, it's like buying a new car. All of a sudden, the new car's got all the bells and whistles and the goodies, and the old car's there, it's still there, but it's just that now you're in the new car. So when you get a new body, the memory is still within yourself somewhere, and this is where, like, the Akashic records and other things come in, but they're rather limited. But it's there within yourself, but you're in a new body because you're still the awareness occupying the new body, and you still have those experiences, but now as you come into this new body, you're focused on the new body, and you've personally forgotten about the other body. But the real you, your real awareness, already knows about that, but the personal self that you're recreating here doesn't have that reference to it unless it comes across it in some way. So, each lifetime, as you go through it, and your lifetime, each person's lifetime is dependent upon the choices they make, what they do, and everything involved, and that becomes a lifetime, and, what they absorb, eat, think, whatever, each lifetime, and it lasts accordingly. Some go quicker than others because certain things happen, or choices are made, or there's drama involved, and all of a sudden the life ends quicker than it should, or there's wars, like many of the individuals that were in the Vietnam War. They've come back already many times over, and they were very upset as to how their life ended so short. I remember that. I was in that era. I didn't become a soldier, but I remember at the time I was 18, I was ripe for that, and some of my friends went. And a lot of people didn't make it. Well, those individuals have come back into new bodies, and they're kind of resenting what's going on simply because their life ended too soon. They were promised certain things, told certain things, and it didn't become so. The world is not what it appears to be. Again, people are marketed with these ideas, and patriotism and all these things, they're marketed with these ideas, and the end result is they usually sacrifice themselves over it. Again, it's a choice. But the real universe is with the true reality, which is here and now. It's you simply recognize it in your real awareness. No restrictions, none. No authorities to look through to, etc. Real freedom beyond what you can imagine. The so-called freedom that is implied here, like belief, hope, and faith, these are all implications. These are implied things. And yes, they just lead a person from lifetimes to lifetimes to lifetimes. We've all bowed and kneeled to the authorities constantly. There's always somebody that wants to be the conqueror. And this exactly is the gods of man. They're conquerors. And they live in the different so-called heavens or the other levels, the astro-causal, the Brahms, the Kal, the Kalam god, and all these things. They live in the other realms, and people think of them as gods because, they've got some kind of power to them. It's a power world and position in creation. None of this is necessary in the real universes. Everything is pure and real and awesome. And so, it's a choice a person makes. So again, yes, people have been marketed. You see the world. This is a marketing world. And you see all the different factors. Well, that's purposely done. Different religions, different political systems, different educational systems. It's all purposely done to actually even create competition, which creates agitation, which keeps people here and feeds the tap lining to the reptilians. This is what people do not see. But it's a choice. It's okay. Everybody can have whatever they want. And so it's not about thinking and thinking it's so. It's about what's really going on and taking the time to see what's taking place. Just like if you were to invest in a stock or a company, I would say the best thing to do is research it to see what's really going on with the company, not just what they market their company to be. You see, that's the front, but see behind the scenes. So with the new you, as a person sings this and does the new you sessions and then watches their dream visions at night from the real side, all of a sudden the real guides will start to provide demonstrations that give hints to something else that is not seen. So again, you have to be the risk taker, but if you're locked into being self-convinced with the systems here, well, then you've got a real challenge to get through. And most people, they will go with their personal self and stay self-convinced. Again, it's choice, isn't it?
Thank you, Duane. That was great. Just a little recap here about some of the things that Duane had said, and then we will open up the lines for people to voice what they would like to say. And Duane had said that all life has led up to the new nowness, and that the isness, and that life is. Those who stay with what has taken place in the past will always be searching for the real guidance. Now, as the whole of life can only be now, and those pretty little words, the old teachings and the doctrines that have been laid down have nothing to do with real truth, because real truth is, and living the adventure is now. All life is now. What was and what has passed into the misty shadows can only be recognized by the real guides. The real guides are now. They see beyond all the fronts of the political, the religious, and even the spiritual headmasters of all religions, including Eckankar. But if you sing the New You now, you can go to the Real side and meet with Rebisar Tars and Paul Twitchell.
Sing it.
Bob wants me to sing it, so it's New You. Or however you sing. Do it for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening before you go to sleep. So you may see the real guides in your dream visions. Any type of question that you have you can voice to before you start your New You session, and then go to the dream vision. And you can prove it to yourself. What is real now? And there's a lot of information that can be found at www.duanethegreatwriter.info. And there's also, going there, you may find all kinds of books, like we had mentioned before, the Adventure series, and Duane writes an article every day, so you can access these. We have many YouTubes. We even have some from Africa and England, where the people have questions for Duane, like we did today, and he will answer them. And I would like to open the phones up for anybody now who would like to say something.
Sandy, before we do that, 1 second, can I say something here real fast?
Sure.
Because what is being presented here is not based upon teachings or ideas, etc. When I first started this, I put it out there, and that is, it's all about my real experiences, and that's what's come forth. And I've written about this, and I've said it. This is not a doctrine that I've created. These are simply references to the true reality. Everything I write gives hints about that. And briefly, before we do this, open this up, can we go over your experience? Because I remember when I first met you, it wasn't too long ago, and on the real side, you had several experiences, and then you decided to investigate, and you were in the corporation for 50 years, okay? And Bob wasn't there as long, but he was there, he had his time, but you were there 50 years, and so all of a sudden now you've done a 180 because of that. You've tested the new you see what's going on, you have these real side experiences. You want to share a little bit of that, you were there 50 years, and all of a sudden you were shown by the real guides the new you.
Yes, I would love to. Duane had said I had been in the corporation for 50 years, and of course in the corporation you get your initiations and you get a word. Now, when you get a word, you are not to speak of this at all, nor share a lot of the experiences surrounding the word. So I have a dream one night, and in the dream it says, you have a new word. The word is new, you. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? So I kept silent that lasted a couple of weeks. And I had another dream. And in this dream, I had received a letter in the dream state, and it was all scalloped around the edges. There was gold inlay. There was bluebirds on there, on the stationery around the edges, and flowers. And it said, in my language that I could understand, there is a new master, a different master, it said. And I woke up and I thought, my goodness. And so I started putting 2 and 2 together, and I thought, I'm going to look up this new you. And so I went to the internet. Now, normally being in the corporation, you would never do anything like that. You would just use the word and be silent. But it just drove me to find out what this was all about. especially with the letter I received. And I looked it up, and Duane the Great Writer came up, and the new UUU came up, and I read it, and it was like after I was done reading it, I immediately ran downstairs to tell my husband Bob about it and said, "You've got to see this. You've got to read this." And it was then that I started having a lot more dream visions. In fact, I ordered the dream discourses right away because I wanted to be a part of all this. And singing the new UU, I was starting to have a lot of real side experiences, and questions were answered, and certain things were shown. And in fact, I was a staunch believer that reptilians didn't exist, even though my husband said they did. And I always said, well, if I see them, I'll believe it. And shortly after that, I began seeing them. Not only did I see them, but I conversed with them. And not only that, when I went to, Bob and I this last October, went to the seminar, the worldwide seminar in Eckankar, and we passed out a few things, Rebisar Tarz's picture and little cards and business cards for the new UUU and Blue Sky Island excerpts, which is another wonderful book that Duane has written. And I saw the whole place being overcome with reptilians on the real side. They were in the parking lot. They were behind cars. I went inside the temple there, in Chanhassen, and I walked downstairs into the fellowship hall, and I actually heard them underneath the floors. And Harry said during the seminar lecture, whatever you want to call it, that underneath the temple is the river of light and sound. Yeah, there's a river down there, but it's swamped with reptilians. So I even stomped my foot on the floor, and I heard them louder. They were all over the seminar, the convention center. They almost have like little reins on people. And so everywhere I went, they were there. So we talked to a few people, quite a few people actually. And it was a very interesting experience for sure. And does anybody have any questions or additions to this? Maybe Claudie or Duane?
Yes, I'd like to say something about reptilians.
Okay, go ahead.
I, too, was in the corporation for 40 years and had many experiences at that time with reptilians. These were different than regular people, and I didn't tell anybody in the corporation about it because I was unsure. Although I experienced things on the real side or in a dream vision of being with extraterrestrials. The people that I were with, or creatures, I guess you could call them, as labeled, were the Orions from the constellation Orion and the Sirians from the constellation Sirius. There's a tribe in Africa called the Dogon tribe in southern Africa that have had constant communication with the Sirians over centuries. And so they're aware of reptilians or other species. And they communicate easily with them. Usually it's their priest or shaman or minister or person like that. The reason I brought this up is that going back to the history that Duane has mentioned about this planet, originally the son of the Queen of Orion came upon planet and found the riches contained therein. And I do mean riches. This planet is so full of various wonders. It's just amazing. And it's the sun is called Enki, and he discovered it and didn't want to share it with anybody, including his mother. But he decided to cooperate and began to mine this planet. There was a lot of white powder gold just laying on the ground in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley, and the son Enki wanted to have more workers. He didn't have enough people to mine the gold that was in the mines. It was just rock laying on the ground, easily picked up and cached in a warehouse. When Enki got the idea in his head that, I could take a monkey and train it, which was the most advanced life form on this planet was a monkey, and train it to pick up for me or mine my crops or go fetch water. So Enki was a geneticist par excellence. He had a lot of information. So he started experimenting with the DNA code of the monkey, and he was able to increase the intelligence of the monkey's capabilities and train them to do more complicated tasks. In doing that, he also realized he needed more monkeys. 3 or 4 wasn't going to do the load, carry the load. So he incorporated the ability for the monkeys to reproduce more quickly. And this violated many universal laws in the galaxy or in the universe. You don't mess with another creature's DNA profile. That's against the law. Well, he didn't care. He felt very special, and that he was going to use this knowledge that he had acquired over centuries. The Orion reptilians took advantage of the dumb monkeys, and in doing so increased their worth. And so right now, we are the result of this genetic experimentation to the point that we have become very good, docile slaves. Now, one of the things that's hard to accept sometimes is that reptilian species sometimes require animal protein to exist. And so many of the smart monkeys were consumed by the Orions. This was very hard sometimes for people to accept that they were nothing but cattle. A deal was made by Enki and the human representatives of the moment to say, okay, we won't eat you, but we'll eat the cattle that you herd for us. And goats, sheep, fowl, everything, fish, everything was made available to the Orions so that they wouldn't eat the humans. But that got out of hand. There were more Orions than there were humans, so a lot more was consumed. One thing is that we think we're completely autonomous in our life here on this particular planet, and that we are free from being captured and convinced to do slave labor. And that's how taplining came into existence. The Orions convinced the smart monkeys to do the work, and that they were the smart monkeys, quote-unquote, God. Now, the Orions lived thousands of years, not just a few like we do here on Earth. So they were able to use their persona in different epochs of history on this planet. So Enki could appear as Quetzalcoatl in Mexico, as a pharaoh in Egypt, and so on and so forth. The same person, but in different disguises. The Orions figured the best way to keep their quote-unquote smart monkeys in line was to create gods or religions for them to bow and worship with terrible consequences if they didn't. So what Duane has presented is an opportunity for us to access this information, and anybody can access it with the new you at night in their dream vision. Everybody has different parameters for truth, and what your truth is may be different than what my truth is. But if you take a look at history as unbiased and open to new suggestions, you might see something that is different or doesn't follow the rules, and you might see something that makes more sense to you in your present moment. Thank you.